tonight is not just another game. Tonight, Arsenal could be one step away from Wembley again, and the lineup Arteta is about to put out is going to have everyone talking. A 16-year-old, a captain returning from injury, some of the biggest names sitting on the bench, and a goalkeeper who made one of the most painful mistakes we've seen in a cup final still starting. This is FA Cup quarter-final night, and trust me, there is a lot going on. Let's get into it. First things first, what's at stake tonight? Okay, so let's set the scene properly because I feel like some people are sleeping on how big this game actually is. Arsenal are traveling to St. Mary's tonight to face Southampton. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, it's just Southampton, remember, Southampton are a championship side this season. They got relegated from the Premier League and they are playing in the second division right now. On paper, Arsenal should be winning this, comfortably. But here's the thing. Cup football doesn't care about leagues. It doesn't care about squad depth or how much you spend in the transfer window. Anyone who watched the FA Cup over the years knows that upsets happen. They happen a lot. And Arsenal, to be very honest, have not always been the most consistent team when it comes to these kinds of games. Big expectations, rotated squad, away from home, against a team with nothing to lose and everything to prove in front of their own fans. This is exactly the kind of game that can go wrong if Arsenal switch off for even 20 minutes. So yes, the prize is massive. Win tonight, and Arsenal are in the FA Cup semi-finals. That means Wembley, again. And after losing the Carabao Cup final to Manchester City recently, believe me, Arteta and the players will be desperate to get back there. Injury update. Who's in, who's out? Right, this is where it gets interesting. Let me break this down clearly because there's quite a bit happening on the injury front. Martin Odegaard, the big one. Let's start with the captain. Martin Odegaard has been out since the 22nd of February. That's over a month on the sidelines with a knee injury. And if you've been watching Arsenal during that time, you know how much his absence has hurt the team. Odegaard is not just a player. He is the heartbeat of this Arsenal side. The way he connects play, finds pockets of space, controls the tempo. Nobody else in this squad does it quite like him. And when he's not there, Arsenal can look labored in midfield. They can look flat going forward. The difference is night and day. So when Arteta confirmed that Odegaard is expected to be back in the squad tonight, honestly, that alone changes the mood around this game completely. Now the question is, does he start? Or does Arteta ease him back gradually? My feeling? He starts. Arteta respects this competition. He's not going to bring Odegaard back just to put him on the bench for a quarter-final. That would be strange. I think we see him from the first minute tonight. And that is massive news for Arsenal. Jurrien Timber could also return. Here's another one. Timber has missed the last 2 matches with a groin injury, and Arteta has said he could also be back for tonight. No guarantee, but it's possible. Timber has been one of Arsenal's most versatile and important defenders this season. The guy can play right back, left back, and even in midfield if needed. His energy, his pressing, his ability to carry the ball out from the back, he gives Arsenal an extra dimension. If he's fit and available, that's another huge boost ahead of a potential run to Wembley. Noni Madueke, the frustrating one. Okay, so Madueke is out for tonight. He picked up an injury while on international duty with England during the break. And look, the initial reaction when that news dropped was pretty bad. People were genuinely worried. Arteta himself said it looked really bad at first. And that's understandable, especially because Madueke had already dealt with a knee injury a few weeks earlier that kept him out for 6 weeks. So when it happened again, the fear was real. But, and this is important, Arteta then came out and said the new injury is nowhere near as serious as the previous one. He actually seemed relieved when he was speaking about it. He even suggested Madueke could be back within days, so it's annoying for tonight's game, yes. But in the bigger picture, this could have been so much worse. We dodged a bullet there. Easy and Hincapié both ruled out. Ebereki Eze is unavailable. Piero Hincapié is also out. Both confirmed misses for tonight. That's disappointing, especially Easy, who has been a really exciting addition to this Arsenal squad and brings creativity and directness that Arsenal can use. But we move. Arteta has cover in those positions. The big question, who else is missing? So here's where it gets a little complicated. During the international break, Arsenal actually had 6 more players withdraw from international duty. 6! That's a lot. Now, Arteta said most of them are not serious. It's more about managing ongoing issues. Players who have been carrying small knocks or just needed rest after a long stretch of games. That kind of thing happens all the time in football, especially after a busy period. But then when Arteta was asked directly, will any of these players be available tonight? His answer was very simple. He just said, let's see. That's manager speak for. Probably not for most of them. And the biggest names in that group, Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, Martin Zubimendi. Now, the expectation, and this makes complete sense, is that all 3 of them will be rested tonight. This is a rotation game. Arsenal have Premier League fixtures coming up that matter enormously in the title race. Arteta is not going to risk his most important players against a championship club in a cup game when he has the option to give them a rest. Does that mean tonight's lineup will be weak? Not at all. But it will be different, and that's what makes this game so fascinating. The story of the night. Max Dowman. Okay, stop whatever you're doing, because this is the part of tonight's team news that has everyone buzzing. Max Dowman, 16 years old. In line to start tonight. Let that sink in for a second. A 16-year-old starting an FA Cup quarter-final for Arsenal, away from home, with a place in the semi-finals on the line. If you haven't heard of Dowman yet, where have you been? He came off the bench against Everton not long ago and immediately made an impact. The kind of impact that makes you sit up straight and think, okay, who is this kid? He was fearless. He didn't look like a teenager who was scared of the occasion. He looked like a player who belongs. And now Arteta, who is not a manager who throws young players in without thinking carefully about it, is reportedly ready to give Dowman his first start. On the right wing, in a cup quarter-final. That tells you everything about how highly rated this kid is at the club. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm not slightly nervous about this. A 16-year-old starting a high-pressure knockout game is always a risk. What if he's not ready? What if the moment gets too big? What if Southampton's experienced defenders just bully him out of the game in the first 20 minutes? These are fair questions. I'm not going to ignore them. But at the same time, Arteta clearly believes in him. And when Arteta believes in a young player, you back that judgment. Remember how he handled players like Saka when he was young? He didn't just throw them in, he prepared them. He made sure the environment around them was supportive. If Dowman is starting tonight, it's because Arteta thinks he can handle it. And honestly, I'm excited to see it. The kid could have a moment tonight that people talk about for years. What do you think, though? Is Arteta right to start a 16-year-old in a quarter-final? Or would you have preferred someone more experienced on that right wing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The predicted lineup and what it tells us. Right, let's look at the expected team tonight. The predicted starting 11 is Kepa in goal, back 4 of Ben White, Mosquera, Gabriel, and Lewis Skelly. Midfield 3 of Norgard, Odegaard, and Havertz. And up front, Dowman, Jesus, and Martinelli. There's a lot to unpack here. Let me go through the most interesting picks. Kepa Arrizabalaga, keeping his place. I'll be honest. After what happened in the Carabao Cup final against Manchester City, I thought there might be a chance Raya comes back in for cup games. Kepa made a really painful mistake in that final. The kind of mistake that costs trophies. And for a goalkeeper, that is the worst thing that can happen. But Arteta is keeping him in. And look, I think that's the right call, actually. Goalkeepers need backing. If you yank Kepa out after one bad game, you destroy his confidence completely. And Arteta, despite everything, knows that Kepa is a quality goalkeeper on his day. He has made some brilliant saves this season, so he gets another chance tonight. And I hope he repays that trust. Christian Norgard. A rare start. This is a player I love watching when he gets his chance. Norgard is experienced, physical, and very smart positionally. He doesn't get enough minutes because of how competitive Arsenal's midfield is. But tonight is his moment to come in and control the game alongside Odegaard. That midfield pairing of Norgard and Odegaard is actually really interesting. Norgard provides the defensive cover and the physicality. Odegaard provides the creativity and the vision. It could work beautifully. Gabriel Jesus. He needs this game. Jesus has had a frustrating time with injuries throughout his Arsenal career, and when he's fit, the debate always seems to be, is he good enough? Can he lead the line properly? Tonight gives him a chance to answer some of those questions. Against championship opposition in a cup game, with a degree of freedom to express himself, this is the kind of game Jesus should be thriving in. If he comes out tonight and scores, gets an assist, leads the line well, it changes the conversation around him significantly. I'm rooting for him. I genuinely am. But I also know that if he has another quiet performance, the question marks will only grow louder. Martinelli. Can he be the difference? Gabriel Martinelli on the left wing is someone I always expect something from. He has pace. He has energy. He can be direct. And against a championship defense that is not used to dealing with Premier League-level attackers every week, Martinelli could have a field day tonight. But Martinelli does need to be more consistent. That's the honest truth. He has moments of brilliance followed by stretches where he goes missing. Tonight, against this opposition, there is no excuse for a quiet performance. What Fabrizio Romano has been saying now, if you follow transfer news at all, and who doesn't, you know that Fabrizio Romano is the guy to watch when it comes to what's happening behind the scenes at clubs. And around Arsenal recently, the noise has been interesting. There has been talk about Arsenal's long-term planning, particularly around the striker position. Gabriel Jesus' injury record has been a real concern at the club, and the word is that Arsenal are keeping close tabs on potential attacking reinforcements. The conversations at board level are about making sure Arsenal are not caught short again next season in that department. Romano has also been tracking the situations of several players connected to Arsenal in the wider market, though nothing concrete has dropped yet in terms of official bids or agreements. But the interest is real, and the scouting work is ongoing. The key message from Romano's updates? Arsenal are being smart. They're not rushing. They're building towards something. The summer window will be the real moment, but the planning is already happening now. What's your read on what Arsenal need in the summer? A striker? A winger? Let me know below. My honest analysis. What does tonight mean for Arsenal? Okay, let me give you my real thoughts here. Not just the team news, but what this game actually means for where Arsenal are as a club right now. This season has been a weird one for Arsenal. There have been some really brilliant moments. The win over Tottenham, the run of clean sheets, some genuinely top-class performances. But there have also been inconsistent patches, injury problems, big games where they looked flat. And of course, that Carabao Cup final defeat to City hurts. It still stings. So the FA Cup is Arsenal's chance to get a trophy. Simple as that. If you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's just the FA Cup, I respectfully disagree. The FA Cup is still a massive deal. It's one of the oldest cup competitions in the world. It gives players and clubs incredible memories. And right now, Arsenal need a trophy. Not because they've failed this season, they haven't, but because winning changes everything. It changes the mood, the belief, the momentum. Getting to Wembley again and winning it would be huge. And tonight, the quarterfinal is Arsenal's gateway to that. Beat Southampton, who are in the championship, let's not forget. And they're in the last four. This should be a night where Arsenal are professional, clinical, and take care of business. But as I said earlier, cup football is unpredictable, so Arsenal cannot afford to start slowly. They cannot afford to mess around and let Southampton grow in confidence. First goal is absolutely key tonight. Do you think Arsenal will do the job tonight, or are you expecting a nervy one? Max Daumann, the next Arsenal great. Let me spend a little more time on Daumann because I genuinely think this is the most exciting storyline going into tonight's game. We've seen Arsenal produce academy talent over the years. We've seen what Saka became, and Saka is now one of the best wingers in England. We've seen Eddie Nketiah come through, Emile Smith-Rowe, various players who made their way through the youth system. And now there's Daumann, and the early signs are that this kid could be really, really special. At 16, he already has the composure that a lot of senior professionals don't have. When he came on against Everton, he didn't look scared. He didn't look out of place. He looked like he belonged on that pitch. That's rare. That's genuinely rare for someone his age. Now, I'm not saying Dowman is going to be the next Saka overnight. That would be unfair pressure to put on a teenager. But what I am saying is, the fact that Arteta trusts him enough to start him in a cup quarterfinal says everything. Arteta is not a manager who does things for show. He doesn't start young players to give the fans a warm feeling. He starts them because he genuinely thinks they can do the job. So if Dowman starts tonight and he performs well, that is a massive moment for him and for Arsenal's academy. It sends a message that the pathway is real. That if you're good enough, age is just a number at this club. But I'll say this, the pressure on Dowman tonight is not just about winning. It's about what kind of player he shows the world he can be. And how he handles that pressure will tell us a lot. Can he do it? I believe he can. I'm backing him. But I'm also watching very closely. Southampton. Don't underestimate them. Let's talk about the opposition for a minute, because I feel like people are sleeping on Southampton. Yes, they're in the Championship. Yes, they got relegated from the Premier League last season. But they are not a bad football club. They have players with Premier League experience. They have supporters who will be absolutely loud and passionate at St. Mary's tonight. And they are playing in front of their home crowd in a cup quarterfinal. That is a dangerous environment. Southampton will set up to make it hard for Arsenal. They will be physical. They will press early. They will try to exploit any hesitation or lack of communication in Arsenal's rotated back line. And if they get an early goal, which is possible, St. Mary's becomes a very, very uncomfortable place for Arsenal to be. I'm not saying Southampton will win tonight. I actually think Arsenal should and probably will win. But I'm saying this because I want Arsenal fans to treat this with the seriousness it deserves. This is not a training ground exercise. This is a cup quarter-final against a side that has absolutely nothing to lose. Southampton manager and his players will have spent all week preparing for this. They'll have a plan. And Arsenal, with a rotated lineup, need to be ready for everything from the first whistle. If Arsenal go 1-0 down early and the crowd gets behind Southampton, that's when it gets really interesting. The rotation debate. Is Arteta right? Okay, this is one that always divides opinion among Arsenal fans. Arteta is rotating heavily tonight. Saka, rested. Rice, rested. Zubimendi, most likely not playing. These are three of Arsenal's most important players, and they're all going to be watching from the sidelines or from home tonight. Some fans hate this, and I understand why. You're in a cup quarter-final. You want your best players on the pitch. You want to win. Why take chances with a weakened team? But here's the counter-argument, and I actually agree with it. Arsenal's Premier League season is still alive. They have massive games coming. Man City away, Newcastle at home. These are games that can define where Arsenal finish at the end of the season. You cannot go into those games with Saka, Rice, and Zubimendi running on empty. And let's be honest, Arsenal's squad, even without those three, is still very good. Odegaard is back. Martinelli is there. Havertz is there. Norgard is ready. This is not a weak team. This is a good team that happens to have some big names resting. If Arsenal lose tonight because of rotation, and I don't think they will, then yes, we can have the debate about whether Arteta got his selections wrong. But I think that's unlikely. The quality is still there tonight. The players who are playing have a point to prove. And that motivation? Sometimes that's more powerful than anything. Quick fan reactions. The vibe going into tonight. Let me just run through the general mood I've been seeing among Arsenal fans today, because it's a mix of things. A lot of people are excited about Odegaard returning. That's the dominant feeling. People have missed him badly, and just having him back on the pitch feels like a boost, even if he's not at 100% yet. There's genuine excitement about Dowman starting. A lot of people are saying this is his moment. The belief in him is real, but some fans are nervous, which is completely normal when you're talking about a 16-year-old starting a knockout game. There's a bit of frustration about the injury situation in general. Eze, Hincapie, Madueke, all out or not fully fit. And the uncertainty around 6 other players coming back from international duty is annoying. It just feels like Arsenal can never have a fully clean bill of health for an extended period. And then there's the Kepa conversation. Some fans are not happy he's starting after the cup final mistake. Others are saying give him a chance to respond. I lean towards the second group. Let the man play and see how he responds. Overall, though, the vibe is cautiously optimistic. Arsenal fans want this. They want Wembley. They want a trophy. and tonight is a big step towards that. What I want to see from Arsenal tonight. All right, let me tell you exactly what I'm looking for from Arsenal in this game. First, I want a fast start. No slow build-up, no easing into the game. I want Arsenal to come out pressing, moving, and creating chances in the first 15 minutes. Don't let Southampton settle. Don't give their fans a reason to get loud early on. Second, I want Odegaard to control the game. If he's fit and he's starting, then everything should flow through him. His decision-making in tight spaces, his ability to find the right pass at the right moment, that's what Arsenal need to unlock a low block. Third, I want to see Dauman back himself. Don't be afraid. Don't overthink it. If you get the ball in space, run at them. If you get a chance, shoot. Back yourself. The crowd at St. Mary's will be loud, but that noise means nothing if you're brave enough to play your game. Fourth, clinical finishing. Arsenal sometimes create chances and waste them. Tonight, with a rotated lineup, they might not create as many as usual. So the ones they do create, they need to take them. No misses in front of goal. No side-footing it wide. Finish the chances. And fifth, a clean sheet. I want Arsenal to keep it tight at the back. Yes, Southampton are championship, but giving away a sloppy goal and making the game harder than it needs to be is the last thing Arsenal want. Win this cleanly, win it professionally, and move on to the semis. My prediction. All right, you want my prediction? Here it is. Arsenal 2-0 Southampton. Odegaard scores or assists in his comeback. Martinelli gets one. Maybe Dauman does something special. Southampton work hard, but they just don't have enough quality to live with Arsenal tonight. Arsenal go through to the semifinals, and the conversation about a Wembley return starts immediately. Kepa Arrizabalaga, the goalkeeper Arsenal brought in on loan from Chelsea. The guy who was supposed to be the reliable cup goalkeeper while David Raya focused on the league. He made a mistake that directly led to City's opening goal. Now listen, goalkeepers make errors. It happens. Even the best ones in the world drop the ball sometimes, literally and figuratively. But the timing of this one was the worst possible. A cup final at Wembley, millions watching, and Arsenal needed to be perfect. They were not perfect, and City punished them. 2-0. Game over. The quadruple dream, gone. Just like that. And now everyone is asking the same question. What does Arteta do with Kepa next? Arteta's big call. And I think he's right. Here is where it gets interesting. Arteta has come out and said Kepa will start in the FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton. He did not hide. He did not dance around the question. He said directly, "This man is ready to play, and I back him." Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, wait, is that the right call? After that error? But honestly, I think Arteta is handling this the right way. Think about it. If you drop a goalkeeper every single time he makes a mistake, you destroy his confidence completely. You send a message to the whole dressing room that one bad moment and you are finished. That is not how you build a winning team culture. Arteta even said something really important. He told reporters he will never judge a player or make a big decision just because of one error. Attitude, behavior. Yes, those things matter. But a mistake on the pitch? That is football. Anyone can do it. And Fabrizio Romano, who tracks everything going on behind the scenes at top clubs, has consistently highlighted how Arteta runs a very tight, loyal dressing room culture. Players trust him because he does not throw them under the bus publicly. That kind of loyalty goes both ways, and it shows in how Arsenal have performed as a unit this season. Kepa has played every single minute of Arsenal's FA Cup run this season. He knows the competition, he knows what is at stake, and now he has something to prove. Personally, I want to see him go out there and silence every single person who wrote him off after Wembley. That would be a proper redemption story. But let us be honest, the big game problem is real. Okay, I have to be fair here, because backing Arteta does not mean ignoring the elephant in the room. Arsenal have a big game problem, and people have been saying this for a while now. When it comes to the regular Premier League matches, especially against mid and lower table sides, Arsenal are brilliant, clinical, organized, hard to beat. That 9-point gap at the top of the table does not lie. But when the really big moments come, Wembley finals, title deciders, knockout stages against elite opposition, that is where questions keep coming up about this group. And here is the part that really puts pressure on Arteta specifically. He has been in charge of Arsenal for nearly 6 years now. 6 years. And in all that time, he has not lifted a single trophy. Not one. That is a big deal, especially when you manage a club the size of Arsenal, with the fan base they have, with the investment that has gone into the squad. Fans have been patient, the rebuild has been impressive, but at some point patience runs out and results have to come. This season could define everything for Arteta. Win the league, go deep in the FA Cup and Champions League, and he becomes a legend. Struggle in the big moments again, and the questions will get much louder. So what happens next matters. A lot. The FA Cup quarter-final, and why Arsenal cannot take this lightly. Southampton. FA Cup quarter-final at St. Mary's. Now, on paper, this should be comfortable for Arsenal. Southampton are in the championship right now. Arsenal are one of the best teams in England. Simple, right? Wrong. And every football fan knows this. The FA Cup does not care about league positions. We have seen it 100 times. A lower league team playing at home in front of their own fans in a quarterfinal, that is a dangerous situation for any top club. Southampton will be fired up. Their supporters will be loud. And Arsenal will be coming off that emotional Wembley defeat, which means the mental side of this game is just as important as the tactical side. Arteta knows this, which is probably another reason he is keeping Kepa in goal. Continuity, familiarity with the FA Cup games, and a goalkeeper who desperately wants to make things right. If Arsenal get through this, and they should, they are in the FA Cup semi-finals. Another chance at Wembley, another shot at a trophy. That is massive. Can they do it? I think yes. But I am watching closely, because a slip here would be really bad for the confidence of this squad heading into what comes next. Champions League, the real test is coming. And speaking of what comes next, Sporting Lisbon. Away. Champions League last 8. First leg next week. This is a massive match. Huge. Fabrizio Romano has been tracking Arsenal's Champions League journey closely, and the buzz around this club in Europe right now is real. People across the continent are watching Arsenal. People are wondering if this is finally the year they make a deep run. But Sporting are not a small club. They are a proper European side with real quality. Playing them away in the first leg of a quarter-final, that is not easy for anyone. Arsenal need to go there and perform. They need to show that the Wembley defeat was a blip, not a pattern. They need to demonstrate that when the pressure is highest, they can still play their game and get a result. I genuinely believe this squad has enough quality to compete in Europe at this level. Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard when fit, Havertz. These are top players, but they need to turn up on the night. No hiding, no shrinking under pressure. The next 2 weeks will tell us so much about where this Arsenal team really stands. The ball of poison quote, and why it actually gives me hope. Okay, this is the part I keep coming back to, because Arteta said something after the Wembley defeat that really stuck with me. He described the feeling of losing that final as carrying a ball of poison in your stomach, and he said he does not want that feeling to go away quickly. He wants the players to hold on to it, use it as fuel, let it burn. Now that could just be manager talk, right? Something you say to the cameras to sound tough and motivated. But I actually think he means it, and here is why. Teams that bounce back the strongest from big defeats are usually the ones who do not move on too fast. They sit with the pain. They remember exactly what it felt like. And they use that memory every single time they step on the pitch for the rest of the season. Arteta has built this Arsenal team on emotion and belief. The connection between the manager and the players is clearly strong. And if he can channel that Wembley hurt into something positive, extra intensity in training, better focus in big moments, sharper decision-making when it counts, then that loss might actually end up helping them. Strange to say, but it might be true. The best Arsenal is still ahead of us this season. At least, that is what I want to believe. The Premier League title, let us not forget the main prize, 9 points. 9 points. Clear. In the Premier League, with a decent chunk of the season still to go. Let us not get so caught up in the cup drama that we forget Arsenal are absolutely flying in the league right now. Whatever happens in the cups, this title race is theirs to lose. And honestly, That is where the real history gets made. Arsenal have not won the league since the Invincibles in 2004. Over 20 years, an entire generation of Arsenal fans has grown up never seeing their club lift that trophy. If Arteta can deliver that, even without winning the cups, it would be enormous, transformative, the kind of thing that gets talked about for decades. But the pressure does not disappear just because they are 9 points clear. Football has a funny way of closing gaps when you least expect it. Arsenal need to stay focused, stay healthy, and keep winning those Premier League games week after week. No complacency, no getting too distracted by the cups. Stay on the grind. Questions for you. Because I want to know what you think, right? Let me throw some questions at you. Do you think Arteta is making the right call by sticking with Kepa? Or would you have gone in a completely different direction after that Wembley mistake? And honestly, do you think this Arsenal squad has the mental strength to win a trophy this season? Because that is the real question that nobody can fully answer yet. What about the Champions League? Can Arsenal go deep in Europe for the first time in years? Or is this squad still a little short when it comes to elite European competition? And the big one, is this finally the year? Is 2024 to 25 the season Arsenal fans have been waiting for since 2004? I want to know what you think. Drop it in the comments. Let us talk about it. Final thoughts. The season is not over, not even close. Look, I am not going to pretend the Wembley defeat did not hurt. It hurt. It hurt a lot. I watched that game and felt that sick, empty feeling that every football fan knows too well. But I am also not ready to write off this Arsenal season. Not with 9 points clear in the league, not with an FA Cup quarter-final against a championship side, not with a Champions League last 8 ties still to play. There is still so much football left. So much that can happen. Kepa gets his chance to make things right. Arteta gets his chance to show he can lead this club to glory. And Arsenal, this brilliant, frustrating, exciting, maddening Arsenal, get their chance to prove that this squad is ready to win when it matters most. The ball of poison Arteta talked about? I hope they keep it. I hope it sits in their stomachs for the rest of this season and comes out every single time they cross that white line. Because if it does, this could be something special.